Hare Krišna. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Hare Gopi Janavalabha Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Giri Varadari Gopi Janavalabha Vari Jaya Giri Varadari Gopi Janavalabha Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Nandana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Jaya Goranitai, Jaya Goranitai, Jaya Goranita, Jaya Goranitai, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Panchatattva ki jai, Shri Gornitai ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 13, The Dynasty of Maharaj Nimi. We're reading text 12. Arayaka bayam nrinam manyamana maharshaya deham mamantu smanime kumara samajayata arayaka bayam nrinam manyamana maharshaya dehamamantu smanime kurmara samajayata rajaka bayamninam manyamana maharshaya smanime kumara samajayata arayaka bayam dinam manyamana maharshaya nirmamantu smanime kumara samajayata. Matajis. Arayaka bayam, due to fear of the danger of an unregulated government. Nirnam, okay, for the people in general. Manyamanaha, considering this situation. Maharishaya, the great sages. Deham, the body. Mamantu, churned. Sma, in the past. Nime, of Maharaj Nimi. Kumara, one son. Samajayata, was thus born. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation. Thereafter, to save the people from the danger of an unregulated government, the sages churned Maharaj Nimi's material body, from which, as a result, a son was born. Purport. Arayaka bayam. If the government is unsteady and unregulated, there is danger of fear for the people. At the present moment, this danger always exists because of government by the people. Here we can see that the great sages got a son from Nimi's material body to guide the citizens properly. For such guidance is the duty of a Kshatriya king. A Kshatriya is one who saves the citizens from being injured. In the so-called people's government, there is no trained Kshatriya. As soon as someone strong accumulates votes, he becomes the minister or president without training from the learned Brahmanas, expert in the Shastras. Indeed, we see that in some countries, the government changes from party to party, and therefore the men in charge of the government are more eager to protect their position than to see that the citizens are happy. The Vedic civilization prefers monarchy. People like the government of Lord Ramachandra, the government of Maharaj Yudhishthir, and the governments of Maharaj Parikshit, Maharaj Ambarisha, and Maharaj Prahlad. There are many instances of excellent government under a monarch. Gradually, the democratic government is becoming unfit for the needs of the people, and therefore some parties are trying to elect a dictator. A dictatorship is the same as monarchy, but without a trained leader. Actually, people will be happy when a trained leader, whether a monarch or a dictator, takes control of the government and rules the people according to the standard regulations of the authorized scriptures. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamitine Amine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishashashunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadvaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada talks a bit about the glories of modern leaders. Of course, this applies somewhere else. In Slovenia, here everything is perfect. Just joking a bit. And Prabhupada says in the purport what's the core of the problem. And the core of the problem is, as he says, as soon as someone strong accumulates votes, he becomes the minister or president without training from the learned brahmanas, expert in the Shastras. So the problem is that the administrators, which are kshatriyas, which should be kshatriyas, should be trained by the brahmanas. They should be under the guidance of the brahmanas. And if they are not, then because brahmanas know the Shastras, and they know how to engage people in the service of Vishnu. Because the whole Varnashrama Dharma process is about how to engage everyone in the service of Vishnu. The sages know how to engage everyone, and the kshatriyas, the administrators, engage everyone according to the instructions of the sages. So it's simple process, simple arrangement. So here there is a little problem, because Maharaj Nimi is going back home, back to Godhead. So who's going to rule? And traditionally, the sages, they will not take the government. That's the traditional system. The sages will just advise. There could be many reasons. We can usually sages are very detached. They don't care. Like for me, it's always funny to see how Shukadev Goswami comes into picture. You know, he's not wearing a suit. His tie is not proper. He's naked. His hair is all over the place. Of course, those who understand the symptoms, they understand that, oh, look, this is a great personalities. But usually sages couldn't care less about material things, you know. They don't care. And as administrator, you have to also arrange some sense gratification for everyone. And if you have someone who doesn't care when is prasadam, at some point, who cares? Then it's harder. Yeah, that's one. Another explanation is given by when Vishwamrita goes to King Dasharat to ask for Lord Ramachandra to protect him. And I'm just reading from Rama. It says, although capable of destroying those Rakshasas with a curse, O king, I will not do so. As a condition of my sacrifice is that I do not give way to anger. My mind must remain steady and controlled. Nor is the sacred duty of Brahmins to attack an enemy. This is always the duty of kings and warriors. Please therefore give me give to me your eldest and most heroic son Rama. Although a youth, Rama is possessed of true prowess and is more than a match for any Rakshasa. So Vishwamrita says, I can kill these Rakshasas, no problem, because I have Brahminical powers. But if I do this, then my mind becomes disturbed, and I cannot do the yagas properly anymore. So that's why the sages usually don't get involved in material things, because then they lose, in a way, they lose their Brahminical position. But even if they don't get involved, they are quite interested. Okay, there should be a proper government. Yes, we're not gonna take over the government, but there should be a proper government. And there is a similar case with after King Vena is killed, that the sages are thinking, what to do? We need a proper king, and they are using the same method of churning a dead body. Apparently, that was the official technology at that point. that was the technology. That was how you make. So yeah. Anyway, we're not. So they were churning the body of the last king, and then they got a proper king, and then they would go back to their normal business. And you would say, and the important question is why? Why do sages do this? Because a very important characteristic of a sage is compassion. Compassion. Krishna himself, he invented this Varnashrama system because he wanted that everyone can reform themselves, because the whole material world is a place for reformation, and so they would gradually engage in dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and eventually they will get to the point of bhakti. So otherwise, there is no point in the material world if there is no dharma. What's the point? And so Krishna himself, he's arranging this whole battle of Kurukshetra just so he can put Yudhishthir under the throne, because he wants a proper qualified saintly king. So the whole battle of Kurukshetra is to because Duryodhana is not so bad, actually he's a good administrator from some perspective, but he's not so much interested in giving people a possibility to surrender to Vishnu. So Krishna is interested in having proper administration. A bit of about compassion. You have the position of Prahlad Maharaj. There's these nice prayers to Lord Nisimhadev, and one of the texts is very famous somehow, because Prahlad Maharaj explains the position of a sage. And he says, "O best of the great personalities, I'm not at all afraid of material existence. For wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities." So Prahlad Maharaj is not concerned, okay, will I have prasadam? What time is prasadam? Will there be, do I have this bed or that bed? Will I live in that part or that part? Prahlad Maharaj doesn't care, because he's completely detached. But he has one concern, like usually sages says. He says, "My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness and maintaining their families, societies, and countries. I'm simply concerned with love for them." So sages, they are not concerned about themselves, but they are concerned how everyone else will be saved. So that's a bit classical concern of the sages. Srila Prabhupada was also in the same position. We were discussing with one devotee, and he said that, okay, he was in some place, and there were 3 devotees in total in that part, and so he was thinking, why not more? Why only 3 devotees in some place? You have a big city and you have 3 devotees in total, and I don't know. So there's some ideas, one is that, of course, if you sell diamonds, then you don't expect to have many customers. So that's a bit normal. But Srila Prabhupada didn't stop at that. Didn't say, okay, my vision is that Hare Krishna movement will spread all over the world, and in every city there will be 1 or 2, maybe 3. If it's a bigger city, there should be like 3 devotees, and that's it. Life's good, and they should have some deities at home. Maybe give some water every day. That's good. Srila Prabhupada had a little bigger vision. And I will just read a bit from, this is from Prabhupada Lilamrita, the big book, the full version. And there's Srila Prabhupada is a bit intense, so that's a warning. Stay tuned. It says, I'll just read the text. In February of 1961, on Vyasa Puja Day, the anniversary of the appearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Bhaktivedanta Swami was again in Vrindavan. In honor of their spiritual master, some of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's disciples had gathered, offered flowers before his picture, and held congregational chanting in the temple. So what did Prabhupada think of that? He said, but Bhaktivedanta Swami thought that they should be doing much more than that. They should be planning and executing the worldwide preaching mission that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has desired. Instead, they were a gathering of independent individuals, each with his own small idea, each maintaining a small center or living at a center, but with no world program, not even a program for India. Most of them had no plans or vision beyond their own bodily maintenance. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had asked for a governing body to conduct his movement, but there was no governing body, and practically there was no movement. Some who had fought bitterly were again on speaking terms and feared that any sudden organizational attempts now might simply stir up old animosities. At least they could gather together and make an offering to their spiritual master. Okay, this is quite important part also. Amongst his god brothers, Bhaktivedanta Swami was a junior sannyasi. His position in Gaudiya Math was not he was not a senior devotee in Gaudiya Math. Although a recognized writer and editor, he had no temple or followers. Yet he knew he was trying to follow Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He saw himself helpless and alone against the vast forces of Maya. His god brothers were not an army united against Maya's forces, but were more like apathetic monks, growing old, holding on to religious principles and rituals devoid of life. How could they gather to worship their spiritual master without distressfully admitting their failure and in the spirit of better late than never trying to rectify it? And this is is the the Vyasa Puja offering by Srila Prabhupada. It says, even now, my god brothers, you return here on the order of our master, and together we engage in his puja. In this puja, but simply a festival of flowers and fruits does not constitute worship. The one who serves the message of the Guru really worships him. Oh shame, my dear brothers, aren't you embarrassed? In the manner of businessmen you increase your disciple. Our master said to preach. Let the neophytes remain inside the temple and simply ring the bells. But just take a good look at the terrible situation that is arising. Everyone has become a sense enjoyer and has given up preaching. From the seas across the earth, penetrate the universal shall come together and preach this Krishna consciousness. Then our master's service will be in proper order. Make your promise today. Give up all your politics and diplomacy. If the disciples of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati could join and preach together, there was every chance that they could create a spiritual revolution within the sinful world. That had been the hope of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and Bhaktivedanta Swami expressed that hope in his Vyasa Puja offering. When will the day come when a temple will be established in every house, in every corner of the world? When will the High Court judge be a Gaudiya Vaishnava with tilaka beautifully decorating his forehead? When will a Vaishnava winning votes be elected president of the land and preaching be spread everywhere? A bit different, huh? So quite intense message from Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada's expectation of success of this movement would be that there will be a temple in every house, and a Vaishnava will be elected president. That's Srila Prabhupada's vision. Srila Prabhupada was not thinking like small, oh, okay, maybe 2 or 3 devotees. So that's somehow position of, that's what he wants. And he was quite peaceful in Vrindavan, we know Srila Prabhupada is very peaceful. And but as a sage, full of compassion, he has, okay, but I have a mission, I cannot sit here peacefully, just Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. It's nice. So what actually happens? There's a nice comment which Srila Prabhupada makes in regard to the instructions to King Priyavrata. And King Priyavrata is also a bit detached. He's very detached. He's not a king in the beginning. He's under the instructions of Narada Muni. And Narada Muni teaches him how to become detached. And then Manu comes and he said, we need a king. And Priyavrata says, no way. And then Manu is like very, okay, but we need a king. And Priyavrata says, no way. And Narada Muni is instructing him how to become detached. And then Manu is just losing hope. But for some reason, Lord Brahma comes. And he says, no, we need a king. And Priyavrata says, okay, what to do? So that's, and in this connection, Srila Prabhupada comments, he says, a devotee who is actually advanced is not afraid of anything, provided he has the opportunity to execute the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the proper explanation why Priyavrata engaged in worldly affairs, although he was a liberated person. Also, only because of this principle does a Mahabhagavata, who has nothing to do with the material world, come down to the second platform of devotional service to preach the glories of the Lord all over the world. So it's the position of the sages in Kali Yuga is that they come down and preach, and they engage in so many material things. Srila Prabhupada, it's funny, we used to say so many times to devotees that, look, I just want to retire from management. I just want to retire from management and just translate these books. And as soon as he said this, and they would say, yes, Prabhupada. And one day later, something would happen. And Prabhupada will be like, okay, I have to solve this. So Prabhupada never retired from management. Anyway, because spreading of the mission is most important. And he explains that for him it was really interesting to hear the purport of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur to this verse, Vyavasayatmika Buddhir. And there Vishwanath Chakravarti explains that one-pointedness means to be one-pointed focus on the mission of the spiritual master. That should be our focus. What is the mission of the spiritual master? And that should be the only focus. And so, of course, we know that the mission of our parampara, of our spiritual master, which is Srila Prabhupada, the mission of Lord Chaitanya, the mission of Srila Prabhupada, is to spread this holy name all over the world. That we have a temple in every house, and that we have a Vaishnava president. We're still a bit far from that. So this will happen because Lord Chaitanya wants it to happen. So it will happen, and this, and then our position is: will it happen with or without us? Krishna says that's one of the important verses in Bhagavad Gita. He says to Arjuna, he says, therefore get up and fight, prepare to fight and win glory, conquer your enemies, and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Savyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. So there's a fight between Krishna's devotees and Maya. Krishna, Lord Chaitanya's movement will spread all over the world because Lord Chaitanya is God. So this will happen. And our position is, we choose on which side we are. That's simple. And if we are on Krishna's side, then we'll gain victory and go back home, back to Godhead. So, of course, this means we need to be sincere, serious about it. Otherwise, this will happen without us. Lila Shuka Prabhu spoke yesterday about sincerity and the need for being sincere in our practice. And this seriousness, this sincerity means, are we serious to push the Sankirtan movement? Are we serious to push the mission of Lord Chaitanya? That's and if you are, then there will be many problems. I'm sorry. This sometimes we like to think that this is like Goloka Vrindavan, where we are in the mood of Goloka Vrindavan. But actually, temples in the middle of big cities, it's like Kurukshetra. This is Kurukshetra. So in Kurukshetra, if you expect that there's peace and love in Kurukshetra, then you're in the wrong place. I'm sorry. And for us, the relevant devotee is Arjuna. So for us, we're like, oh, it's gopis, it's this, it's this. No, for us, the relevant devotee is Arjuna. Because Arjuna is there on the battlefield, and Arjuna is gonna fight for Krishna. And Arjuna is not so concerned. Oh, some errors. And you are in Kurukshetra. What do you expect? Like some errors is passing by. You're not surprised. Whoa, arrows! Wow, in Kurukshetra, this is a war, and there's some arrows. Whoa, really? What a surprise! No, it's Kurukshetra. What do you expect? There will be some errors. There will be some opposition. There will be sometimes you can feel some errors from the back also. What to do? This is normal. This is Kurukshetra. So this is a test, like in this Srila Prabhupada says in the purport to 434 that the spiritual master will test us. We will be tested if we're serious about going back home, back to Godhead. And this is the test. This is, are we gonna push the Sankirtan movement in spite of all the problems? Many times, you feel like, oh my God, come on, this too much, The people are just, you go in Sankirtan, people are just throwing you all over the place. They're like, oh, go away, go. And then you bring some people to the temple, and then they start to become devotees, and they start to behave in some ways that you're like, oh my God, really? And you invest so much time in some people, and then they just go away, and then so you think, what's the point of this? But what to do? That's the test. Srila Prabhupada wanted us to continue in spite of all this. I must admit, sometimes for me it's really, oh my God, what are we doing here? Why are we trying to do all these things? But it doesn't matter really if you are successful or not. It just matters if we please Srila Prabhupada. And if Srila Prabhupada is pleased, then it's our success. So that's the test of our sincerity. That in spite of all the problems which can occur, that we still push the Sankirtan movement. We still try to distribute this holy name, books, prasadam. And Srila Prabhupada gave us the tools. We have the tools. The tools are holy name, prasadam, and books. Simple tools. So if we just stick to the plan and continue, then one day Krishna will do something. Because it's all about Krishna doing something. It's all about, if you have desire, Krishna. If you have a strong desire, Krishna will respond eventually. If you have a strong desire, so if you have a strong desire and we show it, because this desire you have to show that you're strong. If today you have one strong desire and tomorrow you have another strong desire and in 5 days you have another strong desire, Krishna will be confused. You'll be like, what does he want? But if you have this strong desire, okay, we want to have the holy name, a temple in every house. Then, and we stick to this, and we like 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Eventually, Krishna will say, "Oh, this, they are really serious about it." Okay, no problem, because Krishna can do anything, So that's the idea. That's what we need to do, to stay serious and sincere, and eventually Krishna will make sure that there will be a Vaishnava president. Maybe there will not be Slovenia, but there will be a Vaishnava president. Anyway, Hare Krishna. I'll stop here. If there are some questions, concerns, comments, I'll try to say so. Please. Wait, we have a microphone.
Sorry, it's just one comment.
Sure.
Regarding what you said, sometimes we hear devotees somehow disappointed with some project going on for some time, and then it falls apart and maybe diminished or something. And very often I try to encourage devotees to do things despite this tendency in material world for things to diminish, you know. If we take some higher look at Srila Prabhupada's movement, he said it will last for 10,000 years and it will diminish because Kali Yuga will become. So everything is lasting for some time, and then it diminishes its material world, you know. So I try to encourage devotees to think positive. Okay, we have so Harinams few years, and then we don't have Harinams maybe anymore here. It will be somewhere else, and we have some temple, and maybe it lasts for 10 years, 30 years, a few months. It doesn't matter. It's always positive, you know, because of course it's good to have some kind of steady preaching activities, but even if they are not so steady long term, it's always positive, because some people will hear Mahamantra, some people will read books, some people will get association with devotees, and if after some time it doesn't work anymore from any reason, it's still a lot of positives for all this time which it worked, you know.
Yeah, sure. But it's meant to. That's the problem. Mode of maintaining things is quite difficult, and it requires steadiness. And you have to, these projects which don't last. You have to. You don't have to be stubborn, you know. Like sometimes some projects you really need to update. Like some things that were working in the 90s maybe don't work nowadays, and it's stupid to go forward, you know, like because that's how we did in the 90s. You know, and you have to see what are the principles and what are the details, and details change. You know, like so that's one thing. Then so sometimes you should always reroute sometimes, you know, like you should think, okay, this doesn't work, we try like that. Okay, that's one thing. Other thing, you can look, because these projects are also like, especially when you talk about preaching, if a project will be successful, it depends a lot on the purity. Like you can, it's not so much externally, you can have a form or other form, but it depends so much, a lot on the purity of those who are pushing this project. So you can always look into this purity and see if this is there, you know, if we're still in line with the message of Prabhupada. If yeah, that's maybe the most important. That if we're still in line with the parampara, you know, many times there's this tendency to adapt things which we shouldn't adapt, mainly our philosophy. So then we adapt because in the mode of passion there is some nectar if you do something else, you know, like. But the problem with mode of passion is that it doesn't last. You know, like you will attract some people for the wrong reasons. You will adapt the philosophy a bit, and people will come, but they will not come to become Krishna conscious. And these projects just vanish, you know, because Krishna won't allow it for long. He will allow it for some time, but After you say, okay, and that's one part. And then if you try to preach in mode of goodness, the characteristic is that first you get the poison, and you don't have the results. Sometimes you might have, but and then you have to continue in spite of not seeing the results. And you continue, and you continue, and you continue, and eventually you have the results. And you'll see if you compare in 6 months 2 projects, you might see, oh, this one is successful, this one is not. If you compare in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, you will see, oh, this one which seemed not successful, look, actually it's because there's some purity there, there's some. First, they didn't attract 10 devotees, they attracted 1, 2, 5, and over 10 years you'll see, whoa, that's one thing you have to always look in when in this project, if there's the purity is still there. So if this purity will make sure that the project will be successful. And yeah, of course, it's always people have read some books. There were some programs they chanted some Hare Krishna. There's always some benefit, of course, but that's not. We should not aim just for that. Prabhupada wanted to aim for a bit more. Yeah, and also like there's a tendency to change methods, and some methods, as far as I understand, we shouldn't change. You know, like Prabhupada gave us Harinam, Sankirtan, Prasadam distribution. That's the tools which we work with. And if we say Harinam doesn't work anymore, and book distribution doesn't work anymore, that's really, we're thinking Prabhupada is outdated. That's, you know, Prabhupada's books are not working anymore. That's what we're saying. So, yeah, you know. So that's my understanding. So we should there's many things we can do, but if we don't have these projects of Harinam Sankirtan, things will not work very well. That's my understanding. I don't know, maybe it's a bit sectarian, but anyway. Okay, Uruguay Prabhu has controversy of the day. Good.
Deva Prabhu mentioned this, commented. I want to one other aspect of this preaching. Yeah, you are in favor of preaching projects that have potential, long-term potential that have, and this means sattva gun and purity, which runs. I mean, devotees have to have these qualities to be able to perform these long-term, stable projects, aligned with Prabhupada. But yet, I wanted to mention, but there is a section of people who are not really seeking Krishna. I mean, great section.
Nobody.
And they should have some opportunity for at least unconscious, favorable activities that will gain them agyata sukriti. And there is also a section of devotees who add something that is not the core of our philosophy, who add something in passion, or even in tamas, in these concerts and so, and they add it to attract people in passion, in tamas, to come to the project and have few glimpses of pure devotional service, only a glimpse, and then for 20 years nothing, and then he meets you, or whatever. No? But there is the vast holistic. There is a network of projects. One are or the margins, like on concerts into total tamas, attracting people, and devotees might be pure, and they get agyata sukriti, and then they proceed to your project. So there is a collaboration of different stages. No? So we should let devotees doing concentric circles. Even I know addicted people who were preaching. I mean, quite some tamas, devotees on heroin preaching and so on. And in long term, it produced results. For example, that's what do you think?
Well, there's always some problems if you because. You will preach some Krishna consciousness and something else, yeah, and you will attract people for the wrong reasons many times, which you can do, but the idea is to have a very short bridge, very, very short bridge. And otherwise, if you have a long bridge, then you will teach them for 20 years something other than Krishna consciousness. And then they will come to, you will teach them that they have to chant the Maha Mantra, but you will teach them some karma kanda reason. It will not be transcendental. And then they might become some sort of devotees. And then these people you have to, these ideas you put in their head for 20 years, you'll have to get them out. Or someone has to get them out, and all this, and then do you achieve something? Maybe not, it's a long term. You can see that people who are attracted for the wrong reasons, they come and they go very, very fast. They go, classical reason. Sometimes you have just to make it like you have these Matajis who attract Prabhus to the temple. Sometimes it happens, and they are attracted, but they are not attracted to Krishna consciousness. They come to meet her at the temple. So because they pretend to be a bit spiritual because it looks good. And then you see sometimes these people coming, and then they come and they see, oh, this is Krishna consciousness, and then they leave. Actually, it's not what I was expecting. So yeah, I have my doubts that this works. It's dangerous also for the preachers. Like if you preach whole day something other than Krishna consciousness, you will think that maybe it's true. So after some time you'll preach this and a bit of Krishna consciousness, and then you'll preach that and a bit of Krishna consciousness, and then you'll preach only that. I gave you an example before. There was this yoga preacher which was quite successful, very successful. So he was preaching yoga, then he became a yogi. He's not in the movement anymore. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you get some sukriti, but I'm not sure there's there's many other problems. Like you go and distribute a book and you say this is Hare Krishna. Yeah, this is Hare Krishna, and they say I know about Hare Krishna. What they know about Hare Krishna? Well, they know about Hare Krishna that it's something you have to do peacefully and do some, So it's like if Prabhupada came to fight Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, and if we're preaching Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, what will Prabhupada say? Oh, I'm very happy with your Nirvishesha Shunyavadi preaching. No, he will be, you're preaching this, a bit of that, a bit of that. But if Prabhupada comes to this preaching program, he will say, like, there's this example. It's a funny example. They were in Japan, and there was this Hindu community, Burijan Prabhu explains in his book. And they were quite favorable, and they invited for a program, and there was Prabhupada gonna say something, and then there was this Hindu guru who would say something. So Prabhupada gave his class, full on. And then this Hindu guru started speaking. He was speaking in Hindi, so the devotees didn't understand what he was speaking. And he was speaking something. And then Prabhupada said, start kirtan. So they just started kirtan. He didn't let this guy speak, and then of course they were gonna get this house for a temple and so on from these Hindu communities, and they didn't get. But Prabhupada was not gonna compromise, we put a bit of this and a bit of Mayavada and we make a mix and a bit of New Age and a bit of Prabhupada was look, we're preaching here Krishna consciousness. So that's my understanding, that we should preach Krishna consciousness according to the level, but at least we should not preach something which is against Krishna consciousness. And even if we preach something which is on the level of karma kanda, we should be really careful, because if its focus is different, then I don't know. There's enough New Age preaching in the society that we don't need to add our own. That's my understanding. So I don't know. Okay, we'll leave. That's a nice controversy, so we'll leave it more for next time. Okay, thank you. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Bol.